Behind every strong business is a strong team. Today, we're exploring the most important question a leader can ask themselves. Do I have the right people in the right seats? When you do, execution improves, leadership strengthens, and growth becomes much clearer. Welcome to the Rise Above the Noise podcast. I'm Kirk Lowe, CEO and co-founder of ProudMouth. This episode is for founders, CEOs, and COOs, and all leaders who care about building a team that moves their business forward together, just as we've done here at ProudMouth. The culture index methodology that we used has played such an important role in shaping our organization to help us get better aligned. That's why I'm honored to introduce my friend and guest, Jackie Lord. Jackie is a trusted advisor to CEOs and leadership teams. She has over 20 years experience supporting growth-focused businesses from startups to Fortune 100 companies. Some of those companies include Amazon, Boeing, and JP Morgan Chase. She is insanely dedicated to infusing the human element back into the business. I know this firsthand from working with her. She leverages laser accurate data. She uses a process she calls aligning people with profit to get the right people in the right seats to make the business more profitable and productive. Welcome, Jackie. Thanks so much for being here. Now tell us, why does getting the right people in the right seats matter so much?
Yeah, well, no surprise to anybody here is that, right, your largest asset are your people. Your people make up your P&L. They make up all of your financial statements. They are the quality of the product, the output of every single thing that you're doing. I always say, every single day is a result of your communication and relationships with not only outside of business, but your entire team. So having data to get ahead of challenges, get ahead of bottlenecks, kind of rinse and repeat what is always working is critical. And to achieve that, you really have to have the right people in the right seat. I think, almost every business leader or owner has heard that statement. But what it actually comes down to, Kirk, and this is why I'm, so humbled to work with you, is that we can inventory your people, we can look at the data, but to really make the hard decisions, that CEO, that business owner really needs to make those decisions. So we can talk about this all day long, but to really prioritize the human, which then prioritizes, right, kind of aligns with your your P&L, that's really the hard part. And in all candidness, I work with CEOs who do not and cannot make the hard decisions, and they continue to be in pain, and their employees are in pain. In essence, right? Nobody's miserable, but really it's about the leader now making those hard decisions to get to the next phase of growth of their business.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I don't really understand why people want to go hire really smart people with really good systems and ignore them. I guess there's a lot of things that get in the way of that. So maybe the first thing about being a really great leader is find your humility and really deciding if the success of the business and the people that you bring into your business is the most important thing, or if you feeling smart every day is. And those are hard things to turn on and off. I mean, there are days where you don't feel as bright as you like to, and you bring in a bunch of smart people and high performers, really capable. And you're like, wow, they're moving fast, and I never thought of that. And what it should make you do is smile. If it makes you feel anything other than that, then you have to, check that out and deal with it, I guess. So where do some of the these mismatches show up for you? Like, where do you see? I know that one is not being able to make the right decisions. Is there anything else there? Like, what are the real cost of not understanding the DNA of your people?
Yeah. So first and foremost, a flat P&L, right? So your flat revenue. Like, why are we stuck at $3.5 million? Why are we stuck at $10 million for the last 3 years? It's going to be a result of your people. Just like you read the financial statements, your cash flow, we should be using some form of objective data on your people to understand what is causing those. When I actually onboard some clients, I have a slide, and we really address almost every single organizational challenge inside the business: turnover, hiring, lack of top line growth. And I ask them, what do they all have in common? And every single time the answer is people, right? So we've got to make sure we understand Kirk, before we started working together, there were a lot of things going extremely well. You've built a very successful business. So we want to take inventory of why is that working so well and how do we continue to maximize that going forward. But we also need to take inventory of where are your bottlenecks, right? What is prohibiting you from reaching, right, the revenue or the growth rate at which your business can and should be achieving. And we will identify bottlenecks that we've talked about. Bottlenecks lead to, right, disengagement for the employee, which we're always prioritizing first. And then, right, and then it's a ripple effect. We've got disengaged employees interacting with your customers, not providing the right output or the quality service that can be met. And then we get customer churn, and here we go, right? And a lot of things that a lot of CEOs, business owners have to deal with. And sometimes we think that is a natural part of business, but we can actually get ahead of this stuff, right? So this is a natural part of business. I'm not saying zero, but it's been natural because we've never used data to get ahead of it. And that's really what we're doing here.
Right. I know you used the word inventory before. Can you just comment on what you mean by that?
Yeah. When I mean inventory, we've got to inventory your people, right? We've got to inventory their hard wiring to be successful in a role. And Kirk, you and I have talked about this extensively, and I'll get into this a little bit more detail, but there are no wrong profiles. There are no bad profiles of what I am measuring. I'm not measuring morals, values, faith, your definition of winning. I am measuring what your gift is. And so everybody has a natural gift. We want to make sure that's aligned with their position so that we can have maximum productivity to grow your P&L at a faster rate. That's really what we're doing. So we have to take inventory. I call it tough love and a reality check on where you're at. And a lot of times it's in a really good spot to be in, right? Because you're ready for the next level of growth, but it may take a different set of folks or a different org structure, different Moneyball equation to get from, right, kind of good to great. We've all heard those cliche terms, but that's really what we're doing here, and we're using data to do it.
Moneyball. You just brought it up. Did you know I added that to our outline this morning?
I did not see that.
That's so funny. Yeah. I had a feeling you didn't, I gave you all this stuff yesterday or the day before, whatever. Anyway, so let's dive into the tool that you use that helps inventory and really find the DNA of your company. And that tool is called the Culture Index. Jackie wields this sword extremely well, but it is a very sharp sword. And let's go, like in plain language, which I know you get. It's one of the reasons you're so good at your job. But just let it rip. Let's learn about the Culture Index.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I'm gonna squash our hopes that this is a personality test. So, a lot of times we use those words, but what we're actually measuring is hardwired behavior. So if you think about it, there's about 30 dimensions to personality. I'm only measuring 7 of them that are actually hardwired by the age of 6 to 12 years old. Okay, these are as personal as much as they are professional. The personal side is a whole nother podcast. We can talk about that, right? But so what I'm measuring is how it relates to how you're going to behaviorally navigate your role, right? What are your strengths? What are your shortcomings? So I'm measuring 7 traits. The core is what I kind of call ABCD, right? We're breaking it down pretty simply. So everybody has these traits that I am measuring. Okay, so the first trait is autonomy. Everybody has autonomy, but I'm measuring the intensity of that trait. So we're able to get very granular and very accurate on this data. And the reason why this matters is because for the autonomy trait, what I'm actually measuring is, are you going to be proactive? Can you get ahead of challenges before they even happen? Can you get ahead of solutions? Right? Can you get ahead of opportunities? Can you see big picture? Do you have vision and strategy? Really, do you have that moxie, relentless, go-getter mentality? I actually call that trait the gas pedal in the business, right? So if you have somebody in a role who's not looking big picture, getting ahead of things, right, that you need them to do, right? Have that moxie, make the decisions to push the business forward every single day, then we need to identify, where is their A trait? Different gifts. If somebody has a lower autonomy, right, they have a different, complete, unique ability to actually stay present with the team. Okay, this is a more of a reactive, selfless, humble trait that allows them to stay present now to execute the vision that the high A put together. I'm also measuring social ability. This is one of my favorite traits because it's the most misunderstood. I'm not measuring amount of talking or if you like people or not. What I'm actually measuring is, are you interacting with a human to form connection, or are you interacting based on a different sense, which is information, trust, and credibility exchange? The latter is going to be a little bit better at problem solving. So where do we need behind the scenes analytical problem solvers? And where do we need the front line, right? A high B, where we need folks building and maintaining relationships. Both are important, but we need to define them accurately in the role to make sure they're going to be successful. C trait, I am measuring psychological patience. What that really shows up as your work pace and work style. So Kirk, right, you have slightly lower psychological patience. What that means is you want to run and gun. You want to move faster than your competitors. You want to wear many hats. We want to make decisions and we want to push things through the pipeline quicker. So what I do is I need to build a team around you that can keep up with you. So this is a very important trait that I align and match to the unique profile of the CEO and the leader. This is how important and granular we're getting on this trait. The other side of psychological patience, those that have an above average amount of patience, I don't even know what that looks like myself, but it's a beautiful trait. Steady, stable, loyal, methodical, grinding through work. Right, we all have our different gifts here. One of the most important traits I'm really measuring as well is the D trait. So I'm actually just measuring conformity. What that shows up is execution, accuracy, and follow through. Those are big words inside a business, right? So we need to understand, right, if you are to the right, if you have an above average amount of this is your operations, this is your finance, this is everybody behind the scenes that are grinding. And I'll tell you something, Kirk, if you don't have enough high green dots in the right seats, you will have profit margin and cash flow issues, right? So what we're doing is we're predicting behavior to get ahead of negative consequences. We're also predicting behavior to predict success, essentially. Other side of that, the low green dot, this is creative, out of the box, right? Very important in your industry, right? How do we have that unique solutioning? That is really the core of the human. And so we want to make sure we kind of custom design people to make sure that they're going to fit the role, that we bring them in the door to win, to be successful. Sometimes we think we're doing the business and the human, this incredible service by saying, hey, we love your resume, just come in. But we already have data to say that this is not going to work out well for the human, for the business. So that's what we want to get ahead of, right? We don't want to wait 2 years to figure this out. A couple more traits I'm measuring. I'm measuring logic. Some of my CEOs and business owners continuously renew with me on an annual engagement because of this logic indicator. It's hugely impactful on the core of the human. I'm just measuring, is emotion or logic your first filter? Okay, and we're using that to make decisions. Somebody engaging more with humans or in sales, we want a little lower logic. Anybody behind the scenes, do we need emotion and finance? No. Right. So it's a huge indicator that a lot of tools can't have that insight into. And I feel blessed that we do measure this and have this gift and this data available. The last one I'm measuring is ingenuity. I'm really taking a look at your inventive abstract thought, right? Are you going to, kind of invent something? Are you going to have that level of abstract, unique thought? And where do we need that in the business? And also, where do we not need that in the business? The lower ingenuity scale is going to be a little bit more literal, a little bit easier to understand and relate to. So again, every single thing I do is customized to the role. I dig deep into the roles to make sure that we, I will tell you time and time again, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So what is going on in your business? What is your business model? And most importantly, what are the hardwired traits of the leader on that team that we need to now kind of custom design some of these traits to be in alignment, like speed, but also to complement, like execution. So it's almost impossible to do this without data. a lot of trial and error. We all know, poor hiring is not great, not smart business. And so really being able to understand, how do we lock in these traits and identify to set that human up for success, to accelerate your P&L, the productivity, the growth inside your business for every single role.
Yeah. So just to thank you for that. Just to summarize for everybody, there's 4 traits. So autonomy, and Jackie referred to those as the red ball. And the second is social ability, which is B. We call it B, but it's that is a yellow ball. And patience is C, which is a blue ball. And conformity is D, which is a green ball. And then logic and ingenuity are like a slide scale. They don't have a color. They weren't cool enough, apparently.
We have purple and light blue.
Oh, they are? My bad.
Yeah.
They're not as distinct. Those are called job behaviors, correct?
The job behaviors will be the bottom graph, which is something, I would definitely want to talk about in regards to the role fit.
Okay.
Right? In the bottom graph.
Okay. So, these things, just to sum up, I think Jackie weaved these in, but I'm going to give everybody a quick little overview. I like to do this. I like to make sure everybody's staying on track, and maybe you guys are way smarter than me and you're figuring it all out. But some of the outcomes are faster hiring decisions, better seat alignment, more productive team dynamics, less leadership burnout, and a really big one is profit, right? Hiring so that this company, and Jackie gave a really great example of if you have high D, so low conformity to processes and systems, you're going to have profitability problems. And if, that's something kind of a big deal.
In most scenarios, we've all heard the term visionary leaders, right? Visionary CEOs, that's really kind of, right, how all of this starts. However, every visionary profile, a pure visionary profile, which is the majority of CEOs and business owners, we need a translator. We need what's called, sometimes it's often termed as an integrator. In my world, I use the term architect. So we have some brilliant ideas, right, coming out of Kirk, but if we can't actually translate them into cold, hard deliverables, build a scalable and profitable system to maintain them, and now hold the team accountable, then we're losing all of the value of Kirk's vision, right? So you have to have a translator, and this comes into this Moneyball equation. It's not just Moneyball, it's a human equation, right? And without it, again, you can have the most beautiful ideas, Kirk, but if you can't have somebody who can translate them, build them out, and now stay a little bit more present with the team, then we're going to lose all of those great ideas. So that was the first thing I identified, was that Kirk, very unique to his own profile, really, really needed that type of true architect, COO, integrator, whatever word you want to use. So what the architect does is, we've got that higher autonomy on the architect. It's actually the highest trait. So what that means is that they can speak the same language as the visionary, right? We're on the same page. We can see this far into the future, right? Most visionary profiles are going to oversimplify and undercommunicate how we're going to get things done. Okay, we all have, right, different gifts, different beauty. So what that architect does, right, it grabs the golden nuggets. It will actually prioritize them for you. They're going to do more research. Hey, Kirk, this is the most profitable path. We're going to launch XYZ product with this targeted client audience, right? And so that's what they do. They prioritize, hey, instead of, hey, let's just try this and we're going to wing it along the way, which is what most visionaries do. And then, right, we have cash flow investment challenges, and you're spinning your whole team. Right. So that architect, again, is going to focus all of your thoughts. They're going to effectively prioritize, and we're doing it on data, right? Again, they're going to dig pretty deep into the financials of any decision to move forward of yours. They organize your great ideas, and they will tell you, architects are candid as well. They'll tell you, that's a terrible idea, Kirk, and we can't do that right now. So, right, again, that kind of candidness as well. Now they're able to have more clarity and details when they're delivering this down to the team, right? And again, that is the beauty of this translative profile, because we can have all of the right people and the right seats at the lower level, but if you can't translate between you and that level, we're just spinning. Spinning is extremely disengaging for employees who are saying, hey, Kirk, like I'm here to execute and serve, but we don't even know how to execute and serve. Right. So you actually can severely frustrate the human. You can disengage them. You can put them at flight risk. And that's actually what we're measuring as well. In some of our data, we're able to get ahead of this. And then, you can't have the perfect visionary, right? And this is kind of leads to our next topic of conversation. You can have the right visionary, you can have the right architect, but do you now have the team below the architect, the right people in the right seats to now execute all of this? And so we can't skip a single step and we can't overlook any seat. Right. We do need to start to take a look at your leadership team and inventory that to make sure, hey, do you have the right equation now? But hey, we're going to need to insert this profile to get ahead of some of these challenges. We can actually get ahead of this stuff, right? Using that data. So Kirk, right, kind of talking about now, okay, do we have the right profiles now? Do we have the right humans in the right seat? With the right fit in order to now execute everything that you and an architect have put together.
Yep. It's like you have to decide. It's like you look at your company like a symphony of instruments and people playing those instruments, and you're thinking, I'm the conductor, right? And then the maestro, whatever. And then you realize that that's not your gift, being the maestro, and you have to give that up. It's a pretty big deal. But if you were to give that up and not give it up to the right person, I can see that causing a lot of problems. Maybe
your entire business can fail.
Maybe a lot of businesses fails because of that. So when you're thinking about, giving up something fairly significant. I think this may be I don't know if it's the best example. It just came into my head. I didn't pre-plan this. We pre-planned some of it, but of course we were preparers.
Of course.
And I'm pretty sure you have a high D, so you wouldn't even talk to me on an interview if you didn't think we were organized.
Slightly low green dot, very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got to be prepared to give this up, and you better find the right person because it's a pretty big deal. Not fair to say.
Exactly. And I see it time and time again. I see businesses having to downsize. Now we can't make payroll. I see, right? And so especially in smaller businesses, because the impact is huge. So smaller businesses really, anywhere between 1 to 50 employees, we can't even talk about a startup here. But if you hire the wrong person, and we still need to look at knowledge and experience, right? Those are still relevant. This is not the end all be all. But if you do hire the wrong person, again, I've seen it actually break down businesses. I've seen businesses fail, unfortunately, and it pains me because we have the data to fix that and get ahead of it.
Yeah, it's terrifying being a business owner. I'm not sure that's the adjective most people would choose, but I think it's fair. If we're all being honest with ourselves, it can be. And don't be terrified by this. Just be smart about it, right? If this stuff is resonating, either because you've done it before, or because it's upon you, or you understand and maybe it's coming, don't be terrified by it. Just be smart about it. Figure out how you're going to understand inventory, DNA, roles, what are their capabilities, and just get to it, because there is no reason to put this off, because you're just putting off your long-term success and what your actual potential is to be a better business, whatever better means to you. But it definitely probably does, if you're thinking about scale, then that's the better you got to get to.
And I always explain it, in a sense of, we look at data to make business decisions in every single sense, right? We do market research. We project out and forecast our P&L all the way through every single aspect of that P&L in your financial statements. We look at data all of the time, cash flow, inventory, whatever system you're in, but yet we don't apply data and make decisions for the human and for our business right? By looking at our largest asset, which is our people. So it just makes sense, and it should be prioritized even before we even use financial data, because it will be a byproduct of it. So business owners already know that. It just makes smart business decisions to use data on the most complicated and largest asset in your business.
Yeah, and this data it's not overwhelming by any means. I mean, you're an incredible filter of the nuances of all the data, which makes it even better because there are nuances in any data set.
Yep.
In a business, it's nuanced, so you got to understand the fit, and you definitely understand business. So there's another profile here that is extremely powerful, really just as much as having the architect here is having this next role. And you talk about these two a lot, and I don't know that it's specific to ProudMouth and our type of business. I think you would recommend for a lot of businesses this, if that's fair, but I'm going to just let you dive in and talk about this next profile, which is has been critical to our success.
Absolutely. So something that you mentioned, right, is these are very popular profiles that I will put into businesses. It's usually kind of that missing translation equation. However, every single thing is customized to the CEO's profile. So in all candidness, if I have a social CEO, I most likely will not even put an architect. I've got to put a different profile for that own unique equation to be successful. So a lot of this does stem, it's a combination of your own profile, Kirk, and your industry, right? But it's a different equation based upon our different gifts. But really what the value is of this next profile called a technical expert is now they will proactively problem solve, and maintain the existing system with the highest execution and accuracy. So again, right, that architect can put together a beautiful plan, but if we can't have somebody that can now run with it and problem solve within it, right, and wear multiple hats, put out fire drills all day long, like what a powerful, powerful asset in your business. You know, I have my own story. It's funny. I always think, right, doctors make the worst patients, but I have my own story. I would work 10, 12 hours a day. Kirk knows I'm completely blessed and obsessed with this data. I think it's a blessing, the conversations I get to have with my CEOs and leadership teams every single day, truly. And I do think this data is a gift that we've been given. Now we got to do something with it. But after that, I'd work 4 to 5 hours at night, just miserable on administrative tasks. And I should know better. I advise on this every single day, but I finally hired my own tech expert. She gave me my life back, right? So we talked about leadership burnout, entrepreneur burnout. And it's funny. It's so finally even following my own advice, but these are the powerhouse kind of A-player mentality, boots on the ground profiles that drive. Okay, they drive your business forward with the highest accuracy. So they maintain the quality, maintain your clients, and continue to execute and fix, right? Pivot or plow every single day, everything that you've really built, Kirk.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Transparency always helps everybody feel that. I think that they're all capable, and we all have our things. I don't know if that's really a thing for you, but a bad thing. Because
every day
you're the trajectory seems to be that you're killing it. I mean, everybody I introduce you to always come back and say like, wow, that's powerful stuff. And it's always incredible feedback.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
I presume you might get some calls after hanging out here.
I hope there's some owners out there that I can definitely help.
Yeah, I know. So tech expert, is there anything else there that you want to talk about as far as like the different traits?
So yeah, right. Their highest trait is that execution, accuracy, and follow through. I also measure this powerful analytical problem-solving brain. I haven't talked about that. There's about 30 layers behind the simplicity of the dots. I always teach my leaders and managers, right, the simplicity of the information to actually lead and manage and make people decisions all day. Mm-hmm. But I never leave because there's so much complexity actually behind the data. So I definitely own that, and will be able to just have a different perspective. That's really tough because this is one of the most simple, complex tools you're going to learn and use, but we have to use this to make the best people decision and the best business decision every single day. This is not a one-time event.
Yeah. What's interesting is that when we started working with you, we had a 2-day training.
2-day. Yep.
2-day training. And we learned what this meant. Obviously, in 2 days, you're not going to get to the level that you are, but felt really comfortable that you could, in 2 days, really understand the core attributes, like what things mean. And that was really helpful to understand.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like what it says, it can be a bit, but you need to know what you need to understand what these are for you. Right. I mean, let's be honest, some of the people that I'm around have really big profiles, and those profiles are powerful, and in their own way, they're more powerful than mine. But I laugh about it because you hear this so many times. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room, or you want to surround yourself with people who are going to push you every day. And that's definitely what we have here. And I know that managing people is a big part of somebody who founds a company and wants to, be around to scale it.
Correct.
How do we apply all this stuff? Are there any action steps here?
Yeah. So, right. Number one, and what we've talked about pretty deeply here, is we got to take inventory of your team. You have to understand where you're at and where you need to go. What is working so well? We're going to see that in the data, and we want to continue to rinse and repeat that going forward because we've quantified why this is working. And then we also need to identify what are your bottlenecks. And I need to see that data too. The owner needs to see it, and I need to see that data just as much. I always recommend an initial conversation. We just survey your leadership team. Right. I will be able to tell you, and we have a lot of insight on what is working right now and what can we get ahead of. So again, the owner needs to see the inventory and hear the conversation as much as I need to see it in order to understand where I can assist and what are my unique recommendations for that specific profile, for that specific business, and that specific leadership team.
Yeah. Just something was flashing through my mind. Like, how do you describe the differences it feels like when you've gone through this process? For starters, it's not easy, but scaling your business, taking it to the next level is never easy. And a lot of people don't make it through. I think that's pretty fair to say. Or burn out doing it. And yep. I'm not saying, it's hard, but having said that, there's this feeling that when you talk to partners, and a lot of times for us, it's there's a lot of bigger partners that we talk to. When these people are in the room or when they see what they're capable of, it's just a whole different dynamic. And when you're a business owner, that's what you want. You want your team and your company to walk into rooms and not just be led by a brand. Like, oh, they got a cool brand or they do some really neat stuff. You want to walk into those rooms and people to say, oh, that is pretty cool. Or get calls back and say, wow, I don't, how do you keep up with that person? That's what you want, right? You want to have, it's not just pride. Oh, I got a cool company. It's pride. We got people in here who are going to drive. They're going to drive this company forward, and there's nothing I can do. The only thing I can do to slow them down is not do everything I can to speed them up, keep up. And that is a huge part. That's the biggest role as you end up having is how do you make sure that you don't slow them down? In my case anyway, it's just everything you got to keep them going, keep the distractions away, shut that brain down from time to time and let them figure out what we're going to work on and what we're going to be better at. And it makes a huge difference. Any big one-liners that you got? I would love to hear. So I know you always got some really good ones. No pressure.
Yeah. So the thing is, there's beauty to every profile. Everybody has an above average gift. That's what I'm measuring. I'm not measuring anything moralistic here. right? So we want to understand what is that gift. We want to get ahead of it. Not only, right? I don't even call them employees in your business. I call them humans in your business. But leadership is one of the hardest jobs out there because without this data, you are going to make decisions based upon emotion and personal bias. And that's because that's all that we have in the moment. So how do we make the right decision for the human that's going to lead to the right decision for your business, for the growth of your business? So really getting those two aligned. Every single time when I meet with a potential CEO or business owner, I will tell them up front, hey, I'm going to apply clarity to your intuition. You already know these things. You already know your bottlenecks. You already know that this person is struggling. But now I'm going to give you data together to say, this is now how we fix this. Right? We have a path forward based upon data. And I'm not a magician, right? I'm not a rocket scientist. What I mean by that is it's all in the data. The CEO can see it as much as I can see it once we spend 10 minutes understanding the dots, right? Understanding what we're measuring. So it's right there. It's very clear. We can all see the patterns in the data. And then it's up to the leader. And this is where I continue to work with my leaders and managers to say, hey, leadership is making tough people decisions all day long. Welcome to leadership. And to not make a decision is sometimes even tougher than making a decision. Choose your hard. Choose the decision that's best for the human and best for your business.
This has been so enlightening, and I learn something new every time I talk with Jackie. But I hope that you got a lot out of this. You got some real serious perspective. Jackie, how do people find out about you if they want to talk to you or get their profile done?
Yeah. Email me directly, jackie@elevateconsulting.llc. You can check out a little bit more information on the tool at cultureindex.com. But really, the survey takes 5 to 7 minutes. Let's get your leadership team surveyed. We jump on a call like this and we'll be able to discuss quite a bit and have a lot deeper level of insight into your business to say, right, again, what's working and what are the bottlenecks and how do we get you past these?
Yeah. Just for everybody who, if there's any hesitation in learning what your profile is, just throw that away because it's really fun to read and listen and learn. And more than likely, if you're somebody who started something, there's always something special. And like Jackie says, but it's really fun to see what it is. I enjoyed it. Everybody that is open-minded that I know enjoyed it and learned a lot from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for listening. And I know this is a change. I hope you liked it a little bit. Different perspective. We talk about marketing so much, but it doesn't matter how good you are at marketing if you don't have all these other things figured out in your business. And we want to help you. Like, I want to use the experiences that we have here at ProudMouth. Extremely proud of the company, the direction, the momentum. And momentum isn't always just revenue and profit, right? It's human. Mm-hmm. And we've never had this much human capital momentum. It's really exciting. It's fun every day. Mm-hmm. Any parting words for anybody? I know you already gave a great one-liner, but is there anything else that you like to say?
No, I mean, really, it's just to you, Kirk. It's truly been a blessing to work with you. There's not a lot of leaders that prioritize humans and how important they are to your business as you. So truly, it's more of a blessing for me, feels like that. And I've seen you make the hard decisions and then the right decisions. And it's beautiful to watch. And we're seeing some of the success, right, happening in your business right now. So really, it's just understanding that this is a blessing, this data, but really taking this and how you're using this data and using this to make the right decisions for the person and for the business, which I've seen you do for the last 3 years. So more of a thank you. And that's what true leaders do.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Really appreciate it. I mean, this stuff doesn't matter if we don't have you here listening. And feel free to send me a note if you would like to ask me any questions about working with Jackie or working on these things in your business. I'm more than happy to do that. If you want to get your own voice out there, be your own loud, rise above the noise, call us too. We can help you figure that out, because a lot of people have a lot of stories that they ought to be sharing, because those stories are stories that matter to people. They know how much you care. They know what you're made of, and people want to be around people like that. People want to be around people who are doing things, who are making decisions, who are making things happen, who care about the business, who care about the people in the business. And you should be getting that stuff out there. Jackie, thanks for, putting yourself out there. I know you're good at it, but I appreciate you doing it with us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, don't touch that dial yet. Before you go, get a copy of the tools and strategies to rise above the noise shared by our guests in this week's playbook. To claim your free playbook and access our growing collection, go to proudmouth.com/playbook. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Here's to rising above the noise, one episode at a time.